big money cash grab tour. This feels right. I'm talking about the Rush reunion tour. Now, before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so with that out of the way, when I heard this news today, and you really got to go back to the beginning here, and I was just looking at the family tree of Rush and how there's another name now that will be added to this story and to this history, and I think that's really cool. Having just seen Paul McCartney live, and Paul McCartney being the one who was telling Rush backstage at the Taylor Hawkins memorial or tribute show that you guys should play. And here they are, and it seems, what I heard from what Geddy was talking about, that it does really make sense with the timeline and how everything had transpired and all these moving parts that were put in place for where they are from 10 years ago to now. And yes, I think it's Neil should be celebrated. He was not celebrated in the sense that COVID happened, and Geddy was talking about that, and he never had a tribute kind of concert for him or anything like that. So this tour is pretty much going to be celebrating the music of Rush, however, also honoring Neil. And I mentioned before, having seen that Rush kind of reunion at the Taylor Hawkins tribute show, as no one could really take Neil's place, and no, replacing the irreplaceable is what they're saying. And even when you have the drummer from Tool, or all these other guys that night, Chad Smith, having their little take on Rush, and to me, if you're a Rush fan, those fills in your head, those Neil-isms, right? And people are always just playing air drums throughout every song on one of their concerts. You know what I mean? He is the way he arranged his parts and everything. They're just so intricate, and it was very interactive with the other two, to the point where it just seems like it was the perfect fit for everything that they've done. There was never any B-sides or any extra songs on their sessions or their albums. It was what they recorded and what they released. It was all album to album like that. And so they really worked hard at their craft, and every part that every member contributed to each song was just perfect. And to have someone come in there and especially on the live experience, and seeing this new drummer, I think that it's not going to be the sense where I'm sure, like, hardcore Rush fans are going to critique everything, of course, but I think that since it's 1 year away, still almost a year away, and that the interactions and the rehearsals with Anik and Niles is how it's feeling good for them. And they even said, Geddy was also talking about how he felt with coming out of that tribute show for Taylor Hawkins, how, yes, some of these guys that were playing with them, they had their own feel to it, and it wasn't the feel we had, kind of thing. In a roundabout way, he was saying, it was great for them to play the songs. And that was the more important thing, because it was, even though it was a Taylor Hawkins tribute show, they were still also, in a roundabout way, honoring Neil, because Taylor loved Neil, but it still wasn't a Neil show. And so 7 shows, or 7 cities that they're playing, 7 places, for 2026. Cool, and for me, I mean, I've seen Rush a handful of times, it was interesting because I was just talking about Rush the other day with a friend, and how our experiences of seeing Rush for the first time. And I saw the Presto tour, and I went to it like 4 times because I was just like so blown away from it. And even though they played the same songs on every show, it was still great. You know what I mean? And um, I don't know what, as far as my last time seeing them was on the Snakes and Arrows tour here in Vegas. It was on my birthday, May 11th, and I was kind of, uh, had mixed feelings about that show because I felt like it was the beginning of Geddy's voice not up to par, and it was kind of, worn and torn and everything like that. And I said, you know what, I'm pretty much not going to see Rush anymore because it's just hard to sit through for, you know what I mean. And I've sat through some shows recently where the vocals are not up to par and everything like that. But I mean, for Rush, it's very, very, demanding on some of these songs. And I just felt like, okay, well, I've seen the Counterparts tour, I've seen Presto, I've Test for Echo, when the first time when they had an evening with Rush where they played, side one of 2112, amazing. So I had my fill of Rush, and I think it's good for these two guys, which is now a duo. I'm not really seeing this new drummer as just, I think she's just there to fill in for this kind of tribute tour and of honoring their music and for 50 something years, and Neil's legacy and his music, his lyrics and everything, and their music. And for people to hear the music live again, and I don't think, they're going to go beyond that. I think they may add some dates because if you look at the 7 places they're playing, it's spread out to the point where, like, hey, maybe they could add some dates here or there or whatnot. And if and maybe I may have a change of heart if I'm like seeing some of these kind of footages of just them performing and everything. It is exciting, and there's a new energy and a new blood pumped into this band, and see what she could bring to the band. It's not what, I don't think they want just, like what Geddy said, Neil 2.0. It's it's where they could go with the music and with the band and everything. And I'm sure the one thing that a Rush show was what everyone is always waiting for. One of the key moments is the drum solo, the rhythm method, or whatever Neil was putting together at the time, concocting. But there was always certain things that he kept throughout the years and the tours and everything. He keep like the little um, the what was that, the cowbell tree part. And there's just certain things that that fans love, and maybe she'll just throw that in if she's gonna build her own solo. I wouldn't expect her just to play the rhythm method and spin around and all this stuff. No, I think she has something to bring too, and that's what Neil and Alex likes, and that's what it is. It's always about moving forward while honoring, the great material, the great songs, and the great drummer, Neil Peart. So that's my take on it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Leave me a comment below. This is not, the cash grab, the big money tour. I think this is, a very genuine thing, and it's closure for Alex and Geddy, in a way that they could have this moment with their fans live, for one more time. So with that, I'll shut up, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.